Welcome, everyone. It's good to have you here. Today I want to talk about something real and practical. As we grow older, how can we avoid being resented by our children and instead live out our later years with dignity, peace, and even joy? Many of us in middle age or beyond carry a silent worry in our hearts. In our youth, we poured ourselves into raising our children, worried they'd be cold, hungry, or suffer. And we dreamed that in our old age, our children would be someone we could rely on. But then we reach that later stage of life and realize it doesn't always turn out that way. Some elderly parents end up living with their adult children, tiptoeing around moods and facial expressions. Some try to help, only to be accused of meddling. Others bear hurts, but are afraid to speak up for fear of becoming a burden. The truth is, not being resented in one's old age is not achieved by begging, nor simply by waiting. It comes from understanding life well, living clearly. So I want to share with you 5 sentences, each one piercing into reality, but each also hinting at a door to a more contented later life. If you keep them in mind and put them into practice, you won't have to live by reading your children's moods. Your days can be rich and full regardless. 1. Don't treat raising a child to provide for old age as a bargaining chip. Your children are not your debtors. Let me be frank. We no longer live in a time when I raise you for 20 years and you owe me your entire old age is a viable model. It's not that children are ungrateful. The world has changed. Nowadays, your adult children are often stretched thin, caring for aging parents, supporting their own children, paying mortgages, dealing with job stresses. Their burdens may be heavier than ours were. If you still cling to the notion that I raised you, so you must care for me forever, you're setting yourself up for disappointment and, sometimes, conflict. There's a powerful line by one writer that I like. I didn't raise you as a favor, but because of biology, our shared bloodline.
So you don't owe me anything.
If anything, I ought to thank you, because in your life I found my life more complete. In other words, our decision to have children was out of love, not a form of investment or high-interest lending. If you keep tallying, when you were young, I gave up my career for you, or I paid for your college, what does your child hear? I'm not loved. I'm a debtor. You expect me to repay. After some time, who wants to live under that ledger? In the Analects, Confucius spoke of filial piety. The noble kind of filial piety is to care. The lesser kind is to treat them as one cares for dogs or horses. But if there is no respect, how will it differ? This means caring, feeding, is only part of filial duty, but what makes one truly filial is respect, which cannot be bought with claims or credits. To earn respect, you don't keep bringing up past sacrifices. You become a person worthy of respect in the present. Think of a modern scenario. Mr. Johnson always insisted he was the patriarch, that his adult children must obey him. He meddled in their housing, who they hired as caregivers, how they spent money. His family lived in constant friction. His children outwardly submitted, but resentment grew inside. Later in life, when Mr. Johnson developed dementia, he finally let go of the stances of dominance. Quietly, he began saving a small fund to buy his daughter a gift she once longed for when she was a child. Only then did she feel tender toward him, not because he was dad, but because he became a warm, understanding elder again. So, stop using, I raised you, so you owe me, as your mantra. If you treat your child as family, not as debtor, they will more willingly treat you as family, not a burden. 2. Don't lock yourself into the old person label. Your value is never defined by your age. Too many of my friends, once they cross 60, give themselves a quiet resignation. I'm old now, I can't learn new things. I'm of no use to my children. I'll only be in the way. If you yourself decide you have no worth, your children will gradually begin to believe it too, and stop sharing their lives with you. Stop talking, stop including you. You become invisible. There's a story from Chinese tradition about Jiang Zia. He lived a long life. He once worked as a butcher, sold wine, endured times of obscurity, and yet, even in his 70s, he kept studying strategy. Eventually, he met King Wen of Zhou by a riverside and became his advisor, helping to found a dynasty that lasted centuries. Suppose he had resigned himself at 70. I'm too old, I can't contribute. Would that legacy have happened? You and I don't need to found dynasties, but at a minimum, we should avoid shrinking into ourselves. If you enjoy chess, go to the park and play with your old friends. Love cooking? Research new recipes and surprise your family. Learn how to use your smartphone, video call your grandchildren, send a silly sticker or meme now and then. These small acts are your value. I recall a documentary that told of two elderly folks combined nearly 200 years of life, still planting vegetables, making jam, sending postcards. One would prepare the other's favorite fish dish. The other would plant safety markers in the yard so no one would trip. They never said, "I'm old." They lived as though their later years were a poem. Their children didn't treat them as fragile burdens. They admired how vibrant their lives were. So don't let the label old confine you. If you live with passion, with curiosity, children won't resent you. They might even look upon you with pride. That's what a rich later life looks like. 3. Step back from managing your children's lives. Sometimes silence shows more wisdom than worry. This is something many older adults fall into, believing, I must oversee my children's lives for their own good. The problem is, what you consider wisdom may feel like interference to them. You once disciplined their spending, inserted yourself into how they raise grandchildren, urged job stability. You think you're being helpful. But in the end, you exhaust yourself, and your children see you as meddlesome. The philosopher Zhou Guoping once said, a sense of proportion, knowing one's limits, is the hallmark of mature love. That means learning to preserve respectful distance. Your children now have their own household, their own domain. Their life choices are their responsibility. Overstepping is not love, it's imposition, forcing your perspective on them. Historically, famous Qing dynasty official Zheng Guifan had many children, but he rarely micromanaged their daily choices. In letters to his sons, he advised principle and virtue, but never forced them into civil examinations or official careers. Some of his sons became diplomats, others mathematicians, not because he controlled them, but because he gave them freedom. In a modern parallel, in a drama series, the father, Mr. Anderson, had 5 kids. He never intervened in how they lived. One wanted to become a soldier, another married a fisherman. Though he had concerns, he never opposed. When his children fought with spouses, he never took sides. Instead, he counseled empathy and understanding. Because he knew when to stay silent, his children were always close to him. Their home was not a battlefield of criticism. We must accept, grown children have their own ideas, their own ways. You taught them to be independent, now let them. When they're doing well, celebrate with them. If they struggle, you can gently advise, but don't force your will. Blessings matter more than interference. If instead you cling to control, you drive them away and wind up resented. 4. Having financial autonomy brings inner peace. Economic independence is the foundation of dignity in old age. This may sound a little blunt, but it is true. As we age, lacking money leaves us vulnerable. It's not that children are unfilial, but when you have to continually ask them for money, over time, tension builds. In-laws may feel burdened. You feel small, indebted. If you have some reserves, you can say, I'll go to dinner. I'll travel. I'll buy what I like. You don't have to look at others' faces or hesitate. That gives you security. In a novel, That Love, one character said, I want lots of love. If I can't have love, then I want lots of money. We don't have to be so extreme, but we must understand, money isn't everything, but having none is perilous. As one ages, healthcare, medications, small gifts to grandchildren, outings with friends, all cost money. If you have your own stash, you can do these without depending on your children. You preserve your dignity. Think of Shun Wansan, a rich merchant in the Ming Dynasty. In his later years, he carefully preserved enough wealth to ensure comfort in his later life, and also donated to public works so that others respected him. He didn't have to rely on anyone. We ordinary folks don't need to be that wealthy, but we must save something. Don't give all your money to children for their houses and cars, thinking, my money is theirs. You must first take care of yourself. If you have money, your voice has weight, your life has respect, your children don't have to worry about your expenses. That's a worry-free later life. 5. Stop saying, I'm old, I can't all the time. A positive mindset is more effective than any supplement. Many older folks, at the slightest ailment, will tell children, I'm old now, no use to anyone. I'm fading fast. When family suggests you go out, you say, I'm too old to walk. If they suggest learning something new, you say, I'm too old to remember. If you keep saying this, you'll sink deeper into negativity, and your children will truly see you as frail, someone to constantly watch over. Eventually, they may even unconsciously avoid you, to shield themselves from constant negativity. Nietzsche once said, one might as well live boldly, for we do not escape losing life. In our later years, physical decline is real, but our spirit must never collapse. If you think, I can still do things, I can enjoy moments, your life will follow that. If you constantly say, I'm too old, your body and mind will begin to believe it. Think, what if, instead, you see that you can still do things, still find delight? Don't use age as an excuse to shrink. When unwell, see a doctor. Don't scare yourself. If something seems fun, go try it. Don't give up just because you're old. Children who see you joyful, active, laughing, they want to be with you. That becomes a happy later life. In another fictional tale, a man in a wheelchair refused to ever say, I'm too old. He continued to pursue his beliefs, to see the larger picture. Even younger generations admired him, not for power, but for his refusal to surrender to age. So don't let old age be your excuse. Stay positive, optimistic, laugh more, worry less. When your mind is strong, life tends to follow. Children will enjoy being around you. That, truly, is a meaningful later life. Friends, today's 5 sentences are not meant to push you to draw rigid lines with your children, but to help you realize, in old age, not being resented by your children is not about their filial piety. It is about living with clarity yourself. Don't treat raising children for later support as a bargaining chip. You and your children are family, not debtor and creditor. Don't confine yourself to the old person label. Your value isn't defined by age. Don't meddle excessively in your children's lives. Silence often shows respect and wisdom. Hold financial autonomy. This gives you dignity, security, and strength. Don't keep saying, I'm old, I can't. Cultivate a positive mindset. It's more powerful than any health supplement. In our later years, let us become elders our children find reassuring, not burdensome. Happy ourselves, not dependent. Without dependency, without coercion, without chaos, just living our little lives well. Then our children won't resent us. They will respect us, feel close to us, and we won't have to live by reading their moods. We can live our lives steadily, joyfully, day by day. The twilight years of life are still your own. How you live them is how they become, and they can become graceful, full, and deeply yours. I hope every one of you finds clarity, happiness, and a truly worry-free later life. If you like these thoughts, subscribe. I'll be here every day wishing you a cheerful life.